Brady A.
Hey, run that thing up.
What's good? What's good, everybody? We are here for another episode of the Grade A Show, recapping the Game 7s from yesterday. I'm with my guy Mike today. Encourage everybody to continue liking the channel, continue to subscribe. You see the socials down below, and we here for another episode. Mike, recap off of yesterday, man. The Knicks fall. Unfortunately, I think I had them in 7 games too, but Indiana just ran them out of the gym. Out of the garden, man. How you feel about that game yesterday?
Yeah, I had him in 6. Unfortunately, I think a lot of it had to do with injuries. They look at Brunson; he got a broken hand in the 3rd. I don't know why they trotted Anunoby out there. That's just crazy to me. But it had to do with injuries, and they ran out of gas. Like if you can't keep up with that Indiana team, you're not going to beat them. Plain and simple.
That was kind of wild how they put OG out there, man. I mean, when we talking about a hamstring injury, it's something that I've experienced personally before, and it takes a while, man, to get back at full strength when you're dealing with something like that. And to see the Knicks have him come out there the first 4 minutes of the game off rip, just you could tell he was just not supposed to be out of there, man. Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy how the organization kind of forced him, like where did the pass come from? Like did the doctor say that he was a go or whatever, or he probably just was like, you know what, let me try to see what I could do and go for it. But all I can say is the Tibbs effect, man.
Yep.
OG hasn't made it that far in a season in his career. So little injuries and stuff like that. That's how that stuff could occur. The same thing with Josh Hart too. So, and then Jalen Brunson was just an unfortunate situation.
And Hartenstein sucked yesterday.
Yeah, he kind of looked like to me he was kind of out of the game, to be honest with you. I mean, he only took 2 shots, played 30 minutes. He wasn't really aggressive at all. The offensive rebounds, it didn't seem like the Knicks was really crashing too much. I don't know. It just seemed like once Indiana got away, I believe in like towards the end of the first quarter and stuff like that. That was just it for those guys. But no, I want to get back on the point where you talk about pace with Indiana, which I definitely do agree with. We know that they was a higher scoring team this season, percentage wise and stuff like that as well. But I definitely do agree. They're definitely a run and gun team. I think specifically with Halliburton, what I start to notice, because I've really been watching him this postseason a lot. What I noticed is that he's it's very hard to stop him in transition offense from receiving the inbound and going all the way full court. Half court is pretty more lenient, but when he's on the go, and he's pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, no, Neesmith showed tremendous defense yesterday too. Don't want to
shout out to him, man. Another old Celtics player. I swear, everybody that is like a role player that leaves Boston just goes.
I don't know if you remember when we talked about this a few years ago. I never wanted to get rid of him. I always liked him personally myself.
Yeah, I remember him being with us. He was a very aggressive wing player, and he reminded me of Marcus Smart. He just needed more time to develop and stuff like that. But 8 for 10 last night, 1 for 2 from the 3 with 20 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He played a pivotal role. And I think a lot of the buckets, if you watch the game, like you could look at the stat, but if you actually watch the game, most of his points and stuff like that was off of straight hustles.
Yep.
and stuff like that. So took those guys out of the game. Miles Turner came with 17, and then of course we had Hallie with 26.
Nimhard with 22 or 20. Also, I should say.
I think the sleeper on that team is TJ McConnell.
Yeah.
And a huge shout out to him.
Yeah.
It's crazy because that dude has some amazing talent. He has amazing grit. Like he really hustles out there and goes hard. He fits in perfect with that team. Big shout out to him because this whole playoffs he's been doing it all off the bench for Indiana and stuff like that. Yeah, I thought the Knicks was gonna win in 7. Unfortunately, not. Shout out to Indiana, and now they move on to the Celtics. I personally, we'll get into it, but I personally think Boston. I had to think about it, and we talked about it yesterday for a little bit. I had Celtics at first in 7, but I'm gonna go with them in 6.
Yeah. I'm going same amount of games, different teams. I got the Pacers in 6 personally myself. I believe it when I see it if KP plays. There was one game this year where he didn't play and Indy had no problem with them. And if you don't guard that 3-point line against Indy, which the Celtics really have not done a good job at all of this postseason, they are going to absolutely torch you. And I don't see anyone matching up really with Miles Turner unless you're gonna put Cornette out there the whole time or even activate Cade and put him on him. I can't see Horford keeping up with him the way he's been on defense this postseason. So personally myself, I'm going Indy in 6.
That's a hot take. So you telling me Boston ain't got no chance against him?
I haven't got to say they got no chance. It's just my prediction. I got Indy in 6. That's all. They usually shit the pants when it comes to the conference finals, so I'm counting on it again.
Yeah, I think I mean I definitely don't think it'll be 6 if it works in Indy's favor. I definitely think it'll go 7 games. If off of recent history going against Miami the past couple years, and this team even without KP is a lot deeper, a lot more better. JT and JB is a lot more better. So I don't see just reasons like that. I just don't see it going 6 games in Indiana's favor. If it was, I would say 7. But the same way how you say that Boston doesn't guard the 3, Indiana needs to.
They don't. They do not play defense either. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm going with the Celtics in 6 is just because of I think that they'll have more of a defensive effect more than Indiana would have on us specifically. And it's just not me being a fan. It's just me watching off of just the recent games in the postseason and what Indiana had to go through. Tyrese Halliburton didn't really have a guard that he's going to be get ready to go against with a White and a Holiday that's a little bit taller, a little bit more stronger, and also going to run him to have him move his feet quite a bit on the defensive end too. I don't think he was really guarding Jalen Brunson quite that much. And just to see DiVincenzo do almost 2 40-point games to them in the postseason, I just think that JT and JB is going to have their way with them. But if they play with a lot of aggression, let's just keep it simple as that. Miles Turner, I think, definitely is the X factor. I don't see Horford being able to keep up with him the whole game, but also I don't think that Miles Turner is consistent. I would need to see it. The same thing with Nesmith. Nesmith is an amazing wing defender. Offensively, I just think that JT and JB, as long as those guys are not in foul trouble and they're playing with aggression, moving the ball, driving to the hole, getting early free throws in the game, I definitely think that there's an advantage. Now, if we play down to Indiana's level, if we're not keeping up with pace and stuff like that, I could easily see this series going 7 and maybe game for game throughout the whole series.
One thing too is I don't think the Pacers have lost a game at home yet this postseason, correct?
No, they're undefeated at home, but they won their first game on the road in the Garden.
Yeah. So here's my thing too. the Celtics, they have not been good at home over the past at least two playoffs. You can even go 3. They're like 15-15 in the last 30, something around that number. If Indy can get 1, maybe even 2 in Boston, that's a big reason why I'm picking them in 6 games. We know the Celtics don't win game 2s at home. We just know they don't. I don't know what the reason is, but they don't. So let's say Indy steals game 1 and game 2. You got 3 home games to get 2 wins, and I just can't logically pick the Celtics based off of what I've seen off of that.
Now, I that's wild. If I'm not, I don't see Boston losing 2 games at home to start the series.
Neither do I. I don't think they're going to lose game 1. As I said, they always lose game 2. I don't know why. But I'm just saying, theoretically, if Indy takes 1 and 2, that's going to completely change the outlook on the series.
Yeah, I mean, definitely everybody's going to be on their toes if that was to happen. But anything can happen. Again, I got the Celtics winning the series, but I'm not going to sit here and say that things can't happen. And I won't be surprised if Indiana was to pull out some miracle.
Who thought Miami was going to win 3 in a row to start off last year?
Just to revert back to what I said in earlier takes in earlier episodes, if Boston plays down to competition, if Boston plays how they did against Cleveland and Atlanta, if they come out with that type of mentality, they'll get blown out of the gym easily. Let's just call it what it is. But as I said before, if they want it, they have to earn it. It's not going to be given to them. Indiana's not going to get let off easy. I do think the experience with the Celtics would help them out a little bit more, but I would like to see that. At the same time, it's an advantage for Indiana because they're playing. Nobody expects them to be here right now, so they're just playing free ball right now. They're out there having fun, having a good time, playing hard. Even if they lose to Boston, this is still a major accomplishment for Indiana this year, making it this far. So.
I don't know how much you want to read into this either, but they made it to the finals of the in-season tournaments, and they've knocked down 2 teams that they were not favored to win against so far in this postseason. So they have I'm not going to say championship grit. They have the playoff grit to get it done. That's another reason why I'm very confident in them personally myself.
And that's the scary part there. Again, going against a Milwaukee, and yes, they had injuries, but I think a pivotal piece that was missing there was Giannis. And specifically, Nesmith didn't have a tough matchup on the defensive end, so I feel like his offensive game was able to flourish a little bit more. Then we go to the Knicks. We've seen what the series was looking like when OG was there. Again, Nesmith didn't really have a defensive, like, he didn't have to really work that hard. When he had to guard DiVincenzo a little bit and stuff like that, I know he was on McBride a little bit, a couple hot games that they had and stuff like that. He was out there, but I just felt like Indiana hasn't really faced a real top heavy team. And then we could say the same thing on Boston's side. Boston hasn't really faced a good depth roster like they're about to play in Indiana with no injuries right now. I do think KP is going to be huge right now. We definitely need him, but I think that we're pretty top heavy with Derek White, Drew Holiday, Tatum, Brown, and I want to say Peyton Pritchard off the bench. Hauser, I would like to see a lot more from. He hasn't been really effective to me this postseason like he has been in the regular season. So I'm hoping that Mazzulla finds a way to get him some more looks off the bench pretty early.
One thing too is Nesmith. He always shows out against the Celtics.
Yeah,
that's one thing we got to remember.
One thing I do want to see is how Mazzulla adjusts in this series. I want to see some coaching from him. I'm not expecting anything, but one thing I do want to see, I would like to see Tatum match up against Siakam the whole time. Okay, sometimes switching on Miles Turner as well, especially when he's out there on that perimeter a lot. I want to see Tatum lock in and actually play some defense this series. And then I would like to see Drew Holiday on Tyrese Halliburton the whole time. And if Drew Holiday's out the game, I would like to see Jaylen Brown on him. I mean,
I'd put White on Halliburton personally myself.
Yeah. I mean, it is a lot, and that's the thing where like I feel like Boston has a lot more diversity to do on a defensive end, to really mix up Indiana a little bit. Something that they haven't really been able to see so far this postseason. But every time TJ McCollum comes in the game, I would like to see Peyton Pritchard come in the game, and I would like to see that matchup. I feel like those two guys are very, very similar. I feel like those two guys give the same type of heart, same type of grit. And I would like to see. I think that'll be a test for Peyton Pritchard. TJ McConnell has been in the league a long time. He has a lot of experience. And I would just like to see that matchup a little bit.
No, I think it's going to be a good series. I think the Knicks would have been a much better matchup for the Celtics personally myself, but hey, you can't choose who you play in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I kind of and I agree with you. I feel like the Knicks would have been a better matchup for them to win easily with injuries over there in New York. But Indiana, I kind of wanted to avoid just because they're healthy. They're on a tear right now. They're comfortable. They're out there having fun, playing hard, and they got a whole lot of confidence. They don't have nothing to lose. So that's definitely going to work in their favor. But I got Celtics in 6. I won't be surprised if it goes 7, though. Leave a comment down below if you're tuning in. Celtics versus Pacers series. What you got that series in, man? Let's move on to the other game. Last year champions is kicked out. Minnesota wins. Denver was up 20. We got Murray 27 shots. Jokic 28 shots. Michael Porter, what was it, 3 for 12?
Something like that.
Aaron Gordon only took 5 shots. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm happy for Minnesota, and it's crazy because I called it at the beginning of the series that Minnesota was going to win in 7. I flipped last episode because of the way things were going. I didn't think Denver was going to come out and shoot like they did in Game 6. They came out and balled and lost it. And shout out to Minnesota. Shout out to Karl Anthony Towns. Shout out to Jalen McDaniels, Naz Reid. Anthony Edwards had an off game, but that second half, man, he was involving everybody. He was involving everybody in some good assists out there. He was playing some lockdown defense out there. Yeah, shout out to them boys, man.
Yeah, I'm proud of the Timberwolves, man. They were going to make me look real stupid there for a little bit. I thought I'm proud of them, and this is what I think too. I think it's all downhill from here. Yeah, I think that was their real test this year. That's their championship to lose now, personally, myself, I think. And then Denver, I don't know what the hell happened with them last night. They were doing their best Celtics impression in the second half. I don't get how you can only have 21 points come from your other players that are not named Jokic and Murray. You're not going to win any game like that. I don't care if it's against the Pistons, the Spurs. You definitely ain't win the Game 7 like that.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Minnesota, man. Shout out to Musa too. He's joining from the chat. He got Celtics in 6, Wolves in 6. Yeah, Jokic and Murray were the only starters in double figures last night, and they definitely balled out in the first half. I think the thing that just shocked me was that they was really playing a two-man game the whole time, and they didn't get others involved. Michael Porter was off, but Aaron Gordon, I just felt like if you watch that game, he didn't even look like he was in motion. He was just ball watching on the offensive end the whole time. He wasn't getting good cuts or good reads. He wasn't looking to cut to the basket. And it just seemed like a lot of clutter was going on in that second half when Minnesota came out and started pressuring Jamal Murray on the ball. Jokic was gassed. And you could tell going into the halftime and stuff like that. But it just wasn't enough. I definitely think Jokic deserves the same criticism we out here giving Tatum. We're out here giving Luka and stuff like that. He's the MVP. At the end of the day, this ain't no excuse, especially being up 20 points in the game. So 3 games they lose at home as well.
I feel you, but I feel you on that. But one thing too is they got killed on the offensive glass there at the end. That was a big reason why they lost. I thought that's getting overlooked by a lot of people.
I think the huge moment was when Carl Anthony Towns caught that putback right in the lane. And I think
Reed had one before that too. That was huge.
And I think that sealed the deal. And if you actually watch that game, that came from ball watching. That came from not looking at your man and boxing out as soon as you see the shot go up and just ball watching. Carl Anthony Towns was able to come right through in between, I believe, Aaron Gordon and Jokic, and was able to get that putback, and that sealed the deal. So, hey, at the end of the day, Minnesota wanted them all, and they deserved their flowers.
I think it's just Ant-Man's impact's huge. He didn't have a great game, and just his aura, his leadership, I think that's really helped propel them to the end of this game and the series overall.
And that's like what we look for from all these guys, like specifically in Tatum. And I don't really want to bring him up, but that's the things that we look for as far as somebody who actually wants it, somebody that has grit. Even though you're having an off night, even though you're had a couple of turnovers and you're just off, you still have the energy. You're still there. You're still involving others as much as you can. You're still talking to your guys on the timeouts and stuff like that. That's things it's good to see. Him being at 22 years old, and to see that, it's only going to progress and get better. Now they move on to Dallas. I'm gonna just call it what it is, man. I got Wolves in 6. I got Wolves in 6.
I got Wolves in 5 personally myself. Look at last year. The Lakers had a great run, and then they go face Denver, the superior team. The Mavs, I picked them both these previous 2 series. They're a great team. They've had a great run, but you're going to face the big bad Wolves. They're the superior team. You're in for a reality check. I think it's over in 5 games.
Now, I don't think it's going to be easy.
I don't think it's going to be either, but it could be a series like that Lakers and Denver series this year was. We have all close games, but yet it's only a 5-game series.
I definitely could see that happening. I just, I want to see how Jason Kidd. I think both of these series, East and West, is going to come down to coaching and adjustments. And then Dallas having PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. I want to see what they do to be able to pull one of those bigs out to the perimeter, to open that lane up for Kyrie and Luka quite a bit. I love the fact that Ant-Man's already calling out his matchup guarding Kyrie. I think that's going to be an amazing matchup, and I really think that I would like to see a lot more from Kyrie this series. I really will, and I hope it's a matchup where Anthony Edwards is able to do his thing to show himself being a young prospect, NBA's next best face of the league. But I also hope that Kyrie is out there taking him to school. I want to be able to see that matchup. I think that's going to be the best matchup. And then obviously we got Jalen McDaniels, I think, is going to be guarding Luka. One thing that I think may hurt Minnesota, depending on how Dallas adjusts and how Luka plays, is that he baits people in for fouls. So if Minnesota gets in early foul trouble, that could pretty much hinder them a lot. Dallas has fought a lot of adversity this postseason too, coming down from double-digit points a couple times in the Oklahoma City series, and the same thing in the first round as well. So we'll see, man.
One thing I think too is I mentioned this to you earlier before we went on here. I'm curious to see what the Wolves do in the offseason, because Naz Reid, I can't see him hanging around there in Minnesota as a 6-man next year. I wonder if they're going to propel him up to the starting 5, or if he's going to go someplace else, because that man could be on at least half the league's starting 5 roster, if you ask me personally.
Is he still on a rookie deal? I think he's still on a rookie contract.
I do not know personally myself.
Yeah, it depends. I do feel like that's one player from that team that might move on depending on how their season goes. But it depends on how his deal and how his contract is. I'm not quite too sure how that is and stuff like that. But I think that's going to be a pretty tough series. I just don't think it's going to be that easy. But like you said, I could see it being something like how Denver and Lakers was round one, and every game was close, but it ended quick. Yeah, it was pretty tough to see those guys go last night. But Jokic gave his all, I guess. I ain't. Hey, the champs is out of here, man. And it's just crazy that we're gonna have somebody. We got Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic. Somebody's gonna get their first ring, and that's gonna be pretty cool, man. That's gonna be pretty cool to look forward to. When's the first game of the Celtics? Tomorrow.
Yep.
And then we got Western Conference on
tomorrow
Wednesday.
Night at 8 p.m.
Cool. Man, Game 7 recaps. We're getting ready to start these conference finals, man. Make sure y'all leave a comment down below. Like the channel. Continue to subscribe. We appreciate y'all. We can't thank you guys enough. And we out. Tune in for this Saturday's episode at noontime, episode 25. Peace.
Brady A.
Hey, run that thing up.